I don't suppose you want to talk about this, do you?
Hey there guys, this is Richard, your host with another marvelous video. Aquaman reigns supreme over the oceans of the DC comic universe, a domain covering more than 70% of our planet. Since his debut in 1941, Aquaman, also known as Arthur Curry, has been the iconic sentinel of the seas. But, as I always say, a hero is only as great as the villains he fights. Aquaman's tenure as the sovereign of the undersea kingdoms has been anything but peaceful. The depths of the oceans and the halls of Atlantis are brimming with foes, ranging from deep-sea deviants to treacherous family members. His alliance with the Justice League extends his sphere of adversaries to the surface world, diversifying the threats he faces. These conflicts oscillate between the whimsically absurd and the gravely serious, but each is unique in its own right. In anticipation of the upcoming Aquaman film, we'll dive into the depths of his storied past to bring you a comprehensive list of every one of his 44 villains. From lesser-known single-arc antagonists to perennial nemesis who have clashed with the King of Atlantis time and again, this video is going to be one thrilling ride. Let's get started. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Ocean Master. Meet Orm Curry, better known as the notorious Ocean Master. He's Aquaman's half-brother, with the classic sibling rivalry trope, but this one here is super-powered, so things get pretty wild and often violent. Born to Tom Curry, Aquaman's dad, and Mary O'Sullivan, Orm was the regular non-superpowered kid next door, seething with jealousy over his brother's aquatic abilities. With parents who were more like distant roommates and a dad fixated on his Atlantean son, Orm had more issues than a comic book store. No wonder he turned into a marine criminal named Marius, aka Ocean Master. His hobbies? Illegal whaling and looting Atlantis. Talk about sibling rivalry. Then, DC hits the reset button with the New 52. Suddenly, he's the son of Aquamum's mum, Atlana. After his dad's death, Orm takes family issues to a whole new level. He offs his mum and grabs the Atlantean throne. His most ambitious project as the King of Atlantis was the Atlantean War against the surface world, complete with tidal waves hitting Gotham, Metropolis, and Boston. It's funny how the surface world only meant the US. In the New 52, Orm levels up. He's full Atlantean, with royal blood giving him a superhuman edge. While he's not quite on Aquaman's level, he's still a powerhouse. On top of that, his skill set is also pretty varied. Superhuman strength? Check. Durability that makes him almost immune to everything from gunshots to extreme cold and pressure? Double check. Oh, and let's not forget his underwater adaptability, heightened senses, and magic manipulation.
Call me Black Manta.
Black Manta. Black Manta, the mortal enemy of Aquaman, is getting his moment in Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Portrayed by Yahya Abdul-Mateen, it seems that he's going to do some serious damage to Aquaman in the movie. Black Manta, or David Kane if you prefer the less intimidating name, appeared in the comics in 1967 in Aquaman number 35. Initially, he was shrouded in mystery, just a guy in a high-tech suit with a grudge against our aquatic hero, but he was unmasked in Adventure Comics Volume 1, number 452. Turns out, he was an American with a radical vision for a new undersea society, but he was pretty dark on the inside, as he once offed Aquaman's infant son. His origin story was revealed in 1992's Aquaman number 6. Kidnapped by pirates as a kid, he expected Aquaman to save him. When help didn't come, bitterness took root. Escaping his captors and holding a grudge against Aquaman, he transformed into Black Manta, the self-proclaimed future master of the seas. Let's talk gear, because without it, he's just a very angry swimmer. Black Manta's suit is pretty versatile. It's tough, equipped with all sorts of lethal goodies like daggers, harpoons, and a fancy double-bladed gun. The helmet's a real gem. It lets him breathe underwater and shoot laser beams from his eyes. And with a jetpack to zip through the water, he's like a menacing torpedo. In terms of skills, the Black Manta is no slouch. He's a skilled fighter and assassin, making him a dual threat on land and sea. His suit also amps up his strength to superhuman levels. A regular punch from him can feel like a freight train. In the 2018 Aquaman film, this suit was a parting gift from Ocean Master, making him an even bigger headache for Aquaman. The Trench, courtesy of Aquaman writer Jeff Johns, are practically the ocean's answer to your worst nightmares. The Trench debuted in the New 52's Aquaman, and boy, did they make an entrance. These creatures crawled out from the ocean's depths with one thing on their mind: dinner. And not just any dinner. They were the kind that didn't mind a bit of cannibalism. They attacked and desecrated a boat and a fishing community. Aquaman and Mera were called in to investigate. They found something like a giant underwater cocoon, because why not? Which was filled with more of these charming critters. If the alpha marks you as food, it's game over. And guess who got tagged? Well, yeah, Aquaman himself. Cue the epic battle scene. Aquaman was duking it out with the Alpha while Mira was keeping the others at bay. But in the end, the Trench managed to retreat. And then there's a whole other story there, but that's for another time. The Trench used to be regular Atlanteans who mutated into their present form to survive the ocean. As far as their biology and abilities are concerned, they've got razor-sharp teeth and claws that can even injure Aquaman. They spit some kind of marking saliva. Gross, but effective. They even excrete a neurotoxin that can paralyze prey. They're built to handle deep-sea pressure and can mimic deep-sea creatures like a creepy, toothy anglerfish. Their appetites are huge, needing up to 30 times their weight in food. What makes the Trench truly terrifying is their numbers. They can overpower even the greatest of Atlanteans because of their sheer number, but they can be controlled by the Trident of Atlan. If you want to know more about the Trench, we did an entire video on them. I'll leave a link in the description. The Dead King. The Dead King, formerly known as Atlan, was the once great king of Atlantis. In a typical case of Shakespearean tragedy, he was betrayed by his brother Orin and his own people, who took the stab you in the back metaphor a bit too literally and killed Atlan's family. Atlan, then on the run with his loyal followers, became the medieval version of a mad scientist, crafting the 6 mystical artifacts of Atlantis. Years later, Atlan returned with a vengeance in his heart, all strong and silent. He didn't say a word as he annihilated his brother and queen. And in a moment of dark poetic justice, as Atlantis descended into chaos, he broke his silence with a chilling, "Let it all die," and sunk the entire kingdom. You see, he didn't say them, he said it. So, he wanted nothing of Atlantis to remain. He wanted it annihilated. In the story arc, Death of a King, Aquaman, the current king, got a history lesson from Vulko about Atlan and his artifacts, including Aquaman's own Triton. Speaking of powers, the Dead King is pretty much like Aquaman, but on steroids. So, he's way stronger, tougher, and with a flair for ice magic. He can whip up ice columns, impale folks with ice spikes, and conjure up ice storms like it's no big deal. He's also a hit with the Atlantean crowd, quickly swaying the Xabelians to his side and even controlling the Trench creatures. Caribdis. Caribdis was a guy who took his love for Greek mythology a bit too literally. Together with his wife Scylla, they were the Bonnie and Clyde of international terrorism, with a thing for dramatic, over-the-top codenames. But tragedy struck when Scylla met her end, setting Caribdis off the deep end into a pool of madness. He, then sporting some mysterious meta-human powers, confronted Aquaman and won the bout, deciding to get creative with his victory. He strapped Aquaman to a device straight out of a comic villain's handbook, which transferred Aquaman's powers to him. And it was during this underwater tussle that Aquaman lost his hand. So it wasn't really a good day for Aquaman. But wait, it gets weirder. Charybdis and his quest to master Aquaman's fishy talents ended up taking a dip with some piranhas, and in a twist of comic book logic, he absorbed their spirit, becoming the Piranha Man. Yeah, you heard that right, Piranha Man. He wasn't done yet though. Charybdis later came back for round 2, having absorbed the powers of Atlan, but this time he was feeling generous and gave Aquaman back his telepathy. This guy, a walking, swimming power sponge, can permanently copy others' powers, from Aquaman's mind and body mojo to Atlan's magical abilities. The only catch is that he's not as quick as Aquaman. Triton. Poseidon's son, came with an attitude as vast as the oceans he claimed. Unlike his dad, Triton wasn't the laid-back type. So, when word got out that the Atlanteans feared their king Aquaman more than him, Triton got, salty. This, of course, called for a battle between Triton and Aquaman. But being a god and all, Triton had to play by the celestial rulebook. He told Aquaman that the only way to beat him was by shaking his faith in his own godly powers. The battle ended with Aquaman impaling Triton on a rock. But Poseidon showed up, collected Triton's essence, and in a fit of divine dad anger, blinded Aquaman. Why? Well, because gods didn't like mortals seeing them lose. Being a god, Triton has got superhuman strength. He once casually held back Wonder Woman with one hand, and in an underwater scuffle, he nearly outmatched Aquaman, thanks to his impressive speed and endurance. Of course, he's got the endurance of an Olympian, which means he doesn't tire, sleep, or need to grab a snack. Being a water god, Triton's at his peak in the ocean, but can handle himself just fine on land. Siren, also known as La Siren, La Baleine, is a lesser-known but captivating Loire from Vodou mythology. Originating from the warm waters of the Gulf of Benin, she's the offspring of a Vodou Loire and a mortal man under the influence of a Guede spirit, which in Vodou belief symbolizes death and fertility. Siren's multilingual proficiency contributes to her hypnotic singing abilities. In a comic debut in the Titans #5, Siren had this power to induce hydrophobia. The story took place in Maine, where Siren's singing left the town in fear of water. The Titans eventually apprehended her and remedied the town's hydrophobia, though she was soon liberated by Vandal Savage and enlisted in the ephemeral Tartarus team. Siren resurfaced in Young Justice #50 during Young Justice's invasion of Zandia. Nereid. Nereus. Nereus, co-created by Paul Pelletier and Jeff Johns, made his first appearance in Aquaman number 19. He comes from Xabel, an Atlantean colony, and therefore has this remarkable blend of superhuman abilities and leadership qualities. In the Death of a King story arc, Nereus showed a misguided sense of entitlement when he mistakenly believed that Mira had returned to Xabel to become his queen, having presumably succeeded in her mission to eliminate Aquaman. His presumption and ambition were evident in his premature reference to Mira as his wife. The Rise of the Seven Seas arc further showcased Nereus' aspirations for dominance. Following the Dead King's defeat in Atlantis, he sought out Ocean Master, who had retreated to land. Nereus proposed an alliance to locate the Seven Seas and seize control of the world. Nereus' powers are owed to his Atlantean heritage. Additionally, Nereus shares a hydrokinetic ability similar to Mira's, enabling him to manipulate water. Beyond his physical powers, he's recognized as one of Xabel's most skilled warriors and the leader of the Xabel colony. Hagen, initially a slave, rose to prominence in Atlantis through his cunning and mastery of mystic arts. His ascent began during the Our Worlds at War storyline, when Aquaman sent Atlantis to the past, where Hagen curried favor with the High Mage, Gamane. Excelling in sorcery within Gamane's court, Hagen seized power upon Atlantis' return to the present. As Prime Minister, he effectively controlled Atlantis by manipulating Empress Mira with a combination of narcotics and magic, presenting his directives as her own. Under his secretive rule, he and his followers committed numerous atrocities, cleverly concealed from the general populace. His ambition culminated in a grand scheme aimed at eradicating humanity and establishing Atlantean supremacy. It was planned to transform sea creatures into monstrous beings to destroy the surface world. However, his plans ultimately failed. In a final act of spite, Hagen cursed Queen Regent Mira with a condition that threatened to drown her, which was a direct challenge to Aquaman. His reign ended when he was killed in an attack by the Spectre during an attempt by Garth of Atlantis to reverse Mira's enchantment. This also led to the destruction of the city. In terms of powers, Hagen is a potent sorcerer, surpassing most Atlantean magic users of his time. He specializes in the Obsidian Age-style dark arts, a skill set he shares with Gamane. Fisherman. The Fisherman, an international criminal, started his life of crime by stealing and selling rare objects and scientific inventions. But when he stole a growth formula, he was captured by Aquaman and his gang. This was the first time that Fisherman and Aquaman faced each other. His criminal activities continued as he joined forces with the terrible trio, which included Carla and Unthing, but their plans were again thwarted by Aquaman and Mira. The Fisherman's rivalry with Aquaman continued because of various nefarious activities such as smuggling weapons to Atlantean rebels and conspiring with Cobra for global domination, only to be defeated each time. The Fisherman's mysterious origins were revealed for the first time in Aquaman, Sword of Atlantis, number 48 and 49. His distinctive yellow and black dotted helmet is revealed to be an actual hunter from another dimension, who was sent by the Masters of the Outside Realms. Originally tasked with preparing Earth for an invasion, the Fisherman lost his memory upon entering our dimension, leading to a dormant state. The helmet, seeking suitable hosts with hunting skills, found a notable host in a professional munitions trafficker and enemy of Aquaman. Originally perceived as powerless, the Fisherman proved to be a powerful adversary with enhanced strength, agility, and durability. He demonstrates remarkable fishing and hunting skills, often using his rod and snares with unmatched precision. His tactical intellect as a criminal and mercenary is further pronounced in his planning and execution of elaborate death traps. The newfound ability to generate and control tendrils further exemplifies his threat level, marking him as a resilient and cunning foe in the Aquaman saga. The Thirst. The Thirst has long preyed upon deities of the secret sea, a metaphysical place born from humanity's collective imagination. By absorbing their powers, the Thirst bolstered his own strength. When Aquaman assumed the role of the secret sea's guardian, he became the Thirst's new target. This super parasite engaged Aquaman in several confrontations, seeking to drain not only Earth's rivers and the magical waters of the secret sea, but also the very essence of Aquaman himself. In their climactic final battle, Aquaman stopped resisting and instead embraced the light of the universe. This act led to the Thirst being overwhelmed and destroyed by this holy power, seemingly putting an end to its threat. The Thirst has a number of strong powers and abilities. However, the most significant of these is energy absorption, enabling it to drain the life energy from its victims, reducing them to withered husks. This power extends to absorbing moisture from all water sources, which fuels its strength and growth. Additionally, the Thirst can also deal in necromancy, which allows it to mentally control the zombie-like remains of those it drains. Now, the Thirst has another quite peculiar aspect to it. Being a dark abstraction of the secret sea, it's immune to magic and arcane forces, making it a uniquely challenging foe for Aquaman and other adversaries who are reliant on magic. Corum Wrath. Corum Wrath was born out of the creative minds of writer Dan Abnett and penciler Scott Eaton. and first appeared in Aquaman Rebirth #1. He's a complex figure in the Aquaman saga, particularly known for his leadership of the Deluge, an Atlantean terror group that's known for its intense xenophobia and adherence to tradition. This group's notoriety peaked with their attempt to attack Boston, an attempt ultimately thwarted by Aquaman. Wrath's origins can be traced back to the Ninth Tride, or Ninth House of Atlantis. Wrath's journey took a darker turn when he was later depicted as an Atlantis prisoner, vehemently denying any connection to the assault on the USS Pontchartrain. As an Atlantean, Corum Wrath is endowed with the race's intrinsic superhuman abilities. His strength and durability surpass that of ordinary humans, and he's adept at surviving the extremely high pressures and equally low temperatures of deep-sea environments. His role as the head of the Deluge is a proof of his leadership skills and his proficiency in hand-to-hand combat. Wrath entered the Mystic department when he entered the wellspring of Atlantean magic. This granted him the ability to produce a number of spells and arcane powers. However, his exposure to the abyssal dark mutated him into a monstrous form and also gave him additional magical abilities, but at a great personal cost. As far as equipments are concerned, Wrath has command over specialized Atlantean technology. This includes animal control implants that enable him to manipulate Atlantean beasts, as well as a range of Atlantean weapons and artillery. Cordex. Cordex is remembered with a mix of fear and shock in Atlantis. His birth to Queen Cora of Poseidonis was not welcome because of his green-scaled appearance, which ultimately led to his abandonment. Despite this, Cordex survived in the ocean, harnessing his potent mental control over sea creatures. As an adult, he led a shark army in a failed attempt to seize the Atlantean throne. His defeat resulted in the loss of his left hand, replaced with a sword, and subsequent banishment. Cordex's legacy actually gave rise to an Atlantean superstition about blonde hair, which was dubbed the Curse of Cordex. Centuries later, he resurfaced, provoked by the disturbance of his exile by Poseidonian refugees. However, his final defeat at the hands of Aquaman led to his suicide. Cordex's story took a new turn in the Aquaman Deep Dive series, following the Flashpoint, New 52, and Rebirth events. In it, Aquaman, Mira, and the Sea Devils investigated an SOS from an Atlantean city under attack by the Trench. Their investigation led them to fight the Scorpio, an organization led by Cordex, now known as Number One. In a climactic battle, Aquaman and allies overpowered Cordex, thereby putting an end to his reign of terror. Cordex's powers exceed those of a typical Atlantean due to his royal heritage and advanced evolution. His telepathy rivals Aquaman's, once causing a global psychic disturbance. He's also demonstrated the ability to control the minds of Poseidonis denizens, including Aquaman's son, Coriac. His Atlantean physiology grants him enhanced durability, strength, and hydrodynamic abilities, enabling him to navigate underwater at high speeds. His sword hand, a punishment for his initial rebellion, is actually a lethal weapon forged from Atlantean technology. Dead Water. Jonah Payne's transformation from an ordinary submarine diver to the powerful Dead Water began under some grim circumstances. Working for the Scavenger, he took a deep dive into unknown ocean areas. Stranded and desperate, he resorted to killing his crewmates. His encounter with an alien water substance during his return brought in a pretty drastic change, as it merged with him like a symbiote, amplifying his guilt and anger, which went on to turn him into a murderous entity. Dead Water has recently resurfaced in the comics, terrorizing a research base deep within the Amazon coast. This prompted the US Navy to enlist the help of Arthur Curry by sending the Aquamarines to his land residence for assistance. In his new form, Payne possesses a range of terrifying abilities. He exhibits superhuman strength, enough to challenge and sometimes overpower Aquaman. His agility and durability are equally enhanced, allowing him to withstand gunfire and high-impact scenarios. Furthermore, Dead Water's physical mutations, including a prehensile tail, fangs, and claws, make him a deadly predator. Dead Water can control and manipulate the strange aquatic substance that I talked about for various purposes. His hydroportation ability lets him travel through any water source, while his water mimicry skill allows him to shift between solid and liquid states, making him nearly invulnerable to attacks. Moreover, he has an exceptional tracking ability, able to locate anyone near a water source. However, Payne's transformation into Dead Water isn't without its limitations. It hinges on a continuous supply of water. Without it, he reverts back to his human form. Creature King. Creature King, also known as Chimera, has had quite the journey in the comics. Initially, there were hints that his human face was a mask and Jed might not be entirely human, although this was never fully explored. In his giant form, he had immense strength, easily carrying Aquaman and Aqualad, tearing open ship hulls with a single punch and effortlessly defeating armies of sea creatures. His human form appeared athletic and agile, but no more durable than an average young man. After the Flashpoint event, which led to the relaunch of the entire DC Comics universe, the character of Creature King underwent significant changes. In this new continuity, he became an employee of Triton Labs, where a tragic accident transformed him into Chimera. At Triton Labs, Aquaman encountered a diver named Coombs, who, after being attacked by sharks and suffering serious injuries, became the subject of an experiment by Dr. Olsen. The experiment, focused on hybridizing human and marine life, turned Coombs into a true chimera. Due to substantial brain tissue loss, Dr. Olsen implanted part of Karakan's brain into Coombs. Before a mental control chip could be installed, Chimera, confused by the mingling of memories, killed Dr. Olsen and went after Aquaman. Chimera possesses a range of superhuman abilities due to the experimental transformation. His amphibian physiology allows him to function on land and in the sea. He exhibits superhuman strength and durability, capable of withstanding deep ocean pressures and temperatures, and is impervious to large-caliber weapons. His stamina and enhanced senses, including echolocation and superhuman sight, are remarkable. Chimera can also produce bioluminescence and emit light for various purposes. His telepathic abilities, enhanced by Karakan's brain tissue, enable him to communicate and control marine life. Unlike Aquaman, he can compel them against their will and has shown the capacity to read non-aquatic beings' thoughts. Chimera can fly and possess chameleon and shape-shifting abilities. He has an accelerated healing factor and can generate and project electricity, a trait derived from an electric eel. Chimera's physical mutations include sharp teeth and claws capable of cutting through concrete and steel, and he can secrete various chemicals, including ink and poison. His tentacles, equipped with suction cups, are used for grappling and climbing. Demon Gate. Kimon Tanaka used to be a sea captain specializing in capturing dolphins, but he went on to become the cybernetic villain known as Demon Gate. Initially working for the Shinobi Research Center, Tanaka's life took a drastic turn when Aquaman and Lobo intervened. Lobo's destruction of his ship left him adrift at sea, vulnerable to the very sharks he once captured. His life was saved, however, by his brother, the head of Raiden Industries, who had to carry out a series of experiments to save him, which resulted in his transformation into a cyborg. Assuming the moniker Demon Gate, Tanaka embarked on a vengeful quest against Aquaman. He tracked down and brutally murdered Aquaman's surrogate mother, Horm the Dolphin, and left a symbol of Raiden Industries as a bait to lure Aquaman. Here, Demon Gate revealed himself and his role in Horm's death. A fierce battle ensued, which culminated in Demon Gate being knocked off the building. Aquaman wanted to kill him, but he was interrupted by the police, and despite Aquaman's demands, the Japanese government refused to hand over Demon Gate. Still seeking revenge, Aquaman piloted Poseidonis above Tokyo, pressuring Demon Gate's brother to deactivate him and surrender him to Aquaman. Demon Gate was then brought to trial in the royal palace. In an act of mercy, his life was spared, and he was sentenced to live on a desolate island, relying on seaweed and dead fish provided by local sea life. Demon Gate's transformation gave him a few pretty serious abilities. As a skilled sea captain and hunter, he's adept in navigating the ocean and capturing dolphins. His cybernetic body grants him superhuman strength and durability, allowing him to engage in prolonged combat with Aquaman. His suit enables underwater breathing, beacon tracking, and enhanced vision. He wields a remote-controlled, energy-charged spear and a wrist-mounted flamethrower. Slizath Idolists, a pacifist group in self-imposed exile from Atlantis, founded their society on principles of peace and serenity over 4,000 years ago. They were led by King Thar, a sorcerer with mythic powers who ruled from Shearis, their capital. Thar's rule, however, was marred by familial strife, which is a common in Atlantis' history. His brother, Slizath, harbored a deep resentment toward Thar for assuming the throne, believing it was his by birthright. However, Slizath's penchant for necromancy, the summoning of the dead, led to his banishment. 2 decades later, Slizath returned with an army of the undead, challenging Thar's reign. In response, Thar prepared an arsenal specifically designed to counter his brother's forces. This militaristic shift alarmed the pacifist Idolists, which led to a revolt in which they tragically killed King Thar, fearing the corrupting influence of violence on their monarchy. Talk about double standards. Thar's pregnant wife, Bera, was exiled in the aftermath and found refuge in Atlantis, where she gave birth to Garth. Before his death, Thar managed to trap Slizath in another dimensional prison, though the spell was flawed, which allowed Slizath to have a limited degree of influence on his predicament. Bera recognized that Garth's birthright ritual, meant to seal his mystical powers, would inadvertently free Slizath, so his mother had to abandon him for his safety and the greater good. Meanwhile, the Idolists, haunted by Slizath's undead army attacks, retreated into seclusion. Unaware of his mother's fate, Garth grew up believing she was deceased. He was later adopted by Aquaman and given the title of Aqualad. Years later, he confronted Slizath, who had transformed into a demonic sea creature using dark magic. Slizath aimed to harness Garth's mystical energies for his own nefarious purposes, even creating a doppelganger to deceive Garth. However, Garth saw through the ruse, defeating Slizath and finally finding closure regarding his mother's fate. It was after these events that Aqualad adopted the new identity called Tempest. The Eel. Mort Coolidge, known as Eel, was a criminal with modest telekinetic abilities who operated initially in Gotham City and San Diego. His life changed when a catastrophic quake submerged part of San Diego. In this new underwater environment, Eel discovered his telekinetic powers were significantly amplified, particularly in manipulating water. He quickly realized he could exert extensive control over water, a revelation that spurred him to attempt domination of the city's criminal underworld. Eel's ambitious plans, however, were thwarted by Aquaman. Aquaman leveraged microscopic plankton, the only sea creatures capable of breaching Eel's formidable water barriers, to counteract his powers. Eel later participated in an assault on Sub-Diego during the Spectre's attack. He attempted to use his telekinetic control over water to crush Tula. Aquaman, countering his attack, summoned an orca which devoured Eel, ending his threat. In the alternate Flashpoint universe, Eel was a part of Deathstroke's pirate crew aboard the Ravager. After a prison break from the island of St. Helena orchestrated by Captain Deathstroke, Eel, along with other freed prisoners, joined the pirate crew. He was assigned to monitor Sonar, a fellow crew member. Strength-wise, Eel's powers are augmented underwater. His aquatic telekinesis allows him to manipulate and change water density, giving him the ability to control water to the extent of influencing its presence within living organisms or using it as a crushing force against adversaries. Eel's specialized underwater suit is crucial to his operations. It enables him to breathe and function underwater and provides a degree of protection, which allows him to endure several direct confrontations with Aquaman. Despite these capabilities, Eel's criminal pursuits are consistently undermined by Aquaman's interventions. Thanatos. Thanatos first appeared in one of Aquaman's dreams, which was the beginning of a complex relationship between the two. His true nature came to light when he trapped Mera in nether space. In this alternate dimension, Thanatos brainwashed Mera into believing he was Aquaman, her true husband, and the father of their son. Mera's eventual escape from nether space led to a dramatic battle between Thanatos and Aquaman, which ended in Thanatos forcibly pulling her back into his control. The conflict escalated into a prolonged duel between Aquaman and Thanatos. Though Aquaman emerged victorious in combat, his decision to spare Thanatos led to several unexpected outcomes. The rulers of Netherspace, known as the Others, deemed Thanatos pure evil and granted him absolution. Conversely, Aquaman, along with Dolphin, Mera, and Arthur Jr., were sentenced to purgatory for his act of mercy. Thanatos came to Earth with ambitions to usurp Aquaman's throne in Poseidonis. To his dismay, he discovered the city abandoned. In a fit of rage, he declared war on the surface world, intent on destruction. Thanatos shared similar powers to Aquaman, with some notable distinctions. His superhuman strength surpassed that of Aquaman, making him a formidable foe. Deep Six. The Deep Six, a group of fish-like new gods with exceptional strength, made their entry into Earth with a series of intense battles. Their first mission ended abruptly when Orion, the son of Darkseid, annihilated the team. Sleg, one of the members, managed to return only to face a similar fate at Orion's hands. Darkseid, undeterred by their defeat, resurrected the Deep Six on Earth in birthing chambers. It was during this period that they were implicated in the death of Keiko, Aquaman's former love and the mother of his child, Koryak. The resurrected Deep Six soon clashed with Aquaman and his allies, Dolphin and Koryak. This resulted in the complete annihilation of the Deep Six at the hands of the underwater heroes. However, their story didn't end there. The team was restored once more, engaging in a battle with the Supermen, only to be defeated again. Subsequently, they joined the Secret Society, where they occupied Aquaman in battle but were eventually overcome by the aquatic hero and his allies. The final chapter of the Deep Six's saga came when Infinity Man eliminated them, along with the rest of the new gods. This was the end of the Deep Six's tumultuous existence. Karshon, also known as the Shark, this guy was actually an extraordinary result of a radioactive incident. Believe it or not, a typical tiger shark underwent a profound transformation into a superhumanoid entity when an unforeseen atomic explosion at an experimental station endowed the shark with massive radiation. Apart from gaining bizarre humanoid features, the shark was also bestowed with remarkable psionic abilities and a heightened level of intelligence. The tiger shark, through telepathic means, was able to assimilate knowledge from the minds of humans, naturally acquiring the ability to communicate verbally. Despite this newfound intellect, the shark clung to his primal instinct for hunting and ruthlessly preying on others. Endowed with superior intelligence, he deemed his impeccable hunting skills suitable for challenging individuals of exceptional strength, initially targeting Green Lantern and subsequently other powerful heroes. Although Green Lantern managed to restore the shark to his natural state, this transformation proved temporary, as later the shark assumed the guise of an Atlantean named Karshon and engaged Aquaman in battle. It wasn't until he was defeated by Aquaman that Karshon was able to revert back to his original tiger shark form. Scavenger. In the DC realm, each superhero fights with villains possessing both impish, mind-bending powers or those wielding advanced technology reminiscent of the sci-fi era. In Aquaman's rogues gallery, we have Peter Mortimer, aka Scavenger, a maritime marauder with a penchant for scouring the sea floor in search of treasure. The origins of the first Scavenger are extremely complicated and started after fighting Aquaman over an extraterrestrial device known as the Time Decelerator. Following this, Scavenger found himself propelled through a limbo-esque dimension, but upon molecular reformation, he confronted Aquaman once more, seemingly embracing a turn toward righteousness. However, this moral shift proved quite short-lived, as Scavenger met his demise at the hands of Hawkman, after the latter found out his contribution in making some super-violent porn. Initially, this guy felt merely unsettling but necessarily harmless, given that he wore futuristic diving suits and concocted overly dramatic plans for world domination. On the surface, he might seem all talk and no action because how could a man in a diving suit outsmart an entire civilization adapted to underwater life? But we did underestimate him, as he accomplished his nefarious agendas on many occasions, even if it was temporary. Scavenger's innate cleverness and unparalleled tracking abilities, coupled with his aptitude for locating sunken artifacts, proves eerily impressive. Despite his inability to breathe underwater, Scavenger's mastery of the ocean floor and intelligence make him an indomitable adversary, even against denizens of the deep led by Aquaman himself. Lava Lord. This Aquaman villain is a molten man composed of condensed volcanic gas and magma who commands the fire trolls. Originally a fire troll mutated by exposure to abandoned barrels of chemical waste, Lava Lord underwent a further transformation, turning his rocky form into molten magma. His entire body, now composed of searing magma, possesses the destructive capability to burn and ignite anything it touches. Lava Lord's arsenal of powers includes the expulsion of significant amounts of flammable gas, which he can subsequently ignite. Furthermore, he can unleash blasts of molten magma with intense heat, capable of piercing through stone and crafting tunnels in rock formations. Adding to his powerful abilities, Lava Lord can condense his molten form into a compact, spiky ball of scorching rock, enhancing both his defensive and offensive capabilities. Anunaki. The Anunaki, a dragon-like reptilian extraterrestrial race, have maintained a long-standing enmity with the hunter-gatherers. Their visits to Earth intertwined with the ancient history of Atlantis, with a potential connection to the Anunnaki, the Babylonian gods. These draconian beings engaged in a galaxy-spanning conflict against the hunter-gatherers, asserting dominance over their colony worlds. It should be noted that approximately 40,000 years ago, they waged a fierce battle with them for Earth's control. Ultimately, the Anunnaki withdrew due to the resistance and challenges of fighting on multiple fronts. Before departing, they strategically positioned several of their colossal skull-shaped observation ships on Earth. The arrival of one such ship led to the submergence of Atlantis, with its capital city, Poseidonis, resting atop the submerged observation ship. Post-retreat, the hunter-gatherers were subjugated by the Anunnaki, becoming integral parts of the Anunnaki Empire as both slaves and warriors. The once independent hunter-gatherers assimilated into the Anunnaki fold, collectively contributing to the Empire's endeavors. Presently, the Anunnaki Empire follows a pattern of conquering civilizations and rebuilding them, bestowing survivors with a golden age. This parallels the original intentions of the hunter-gatherers who, in their skull-shaped warships, sought to implement a similar plan for Earth and its human civilization. However, upon discovery, they were compelled to abandon their mission and depart. Blackjack. The original Blackjack has remained elusive for some time, yet during DC's Golden Age, this contemporary pirate apparently stood as Aquaman's foremost adversary. He indulged in typical pirate activities such as plundering the seas, tossing individuals overboard, and embodying the stereotypical pirate lifestyle. Of course, Blackjack's character displayed a lack of originality, but his encounters with Aquaman were frequent, typically arising from attempts to pilfer from other ships or orchestrate drownings. It should be noted that in the Rebirth Aquaman series, DC reintroduced Blackjack as a covert female pirate of sorts. Her intriguing spy suit alone is sufficient to justify her inclusion, securing her a noteworthy position, even if it is at the very bottom. Carla. This Aquaman villain, Carla, employs her blazing hair for diverse combat purposes, with the unique ability of her flames remaining unaffected even when submerged in water. Notably, her own body is absolutely invulnerable to this fiery element. Serving as the leader of the terrible Trio 2, Carla commands a power team, but despite her prowess, she relies on her scuba diving equipment as she lacks the ability to breathe underwater. Jafar. Jafar stands as a member of the Deep Six, a team of 6 semi-humanoid entities from Apocalypse. Tasked with executing missions of terror and destruction on behalf of their master Darkseid, the Deep Six possesses remarkable traits including superhuman strength, fish-like scaly skin, fins and gills which help them facilitate underwater functionality. Although we don't exactly know if these guys can operate outside water. In a confrontation with Aquaman, Jafar became entangled in quite a situation when Aquaman compelled him to reverse the disfigurement of Dolphin using biotransmutation powers. Although Aquaman spared Jafar's life upon his compliance, Aquaman's son Coriac showed no mercy, fatally injuring Jafar by creating a hole through his abdomen with a hard water column. Despite seemingly meeting his demise, Jafar resurrected through his own spawn. His resilience, however, didn't shield him from death, as he succumbed once more during the earth-purging efforts of the Infinity Man, channeled through a corrupted Mary Marvel, leading to the demise of Jafar's fellow Deep Six member, Slig. While the Deep Six, including Jafar, were annihilated at the hands of Orion and the New Gods, their recurrent resurrections suggest either an inherent difficulty in killing them, or of Apocalypse possessing advanced technology capable of restoring their lives. Quist, also known as Quist, originated from the 5th dimension, later joining the earthly adventures of Aquaman and Aqualad after leaving his dimensional realm. Forming a close bond with the Sea King and his partner, Quist aided him in defeating fire trolls and repelling the Suvian conquerors. His escapades continued as he rescued his twin brother from the clutches of Captain Slade and faced off against the malevolent water sprite, Quirk. Eventually, Quist found himself imprisoned on the water sprite homeworld by Quirk after being stripped of his magic powers. But with Aquaman's help, they thwarted Quirk's plans and returned to Atlantis. Departing after saving Queen Mera from warlord Laron, Quist later returned to Earth to find Aquaman transformed into a more aggressive persona. Thus imitating this change, Quist himself turned quite evil and triggered a conflict between powerful genie princes, leading to intervention by Captain Marvel and Green Lantern. Later, after being confronted by fellow imps, Quist was sentenced to 1,000,000 infinities in an 8-dimensional maze for endangering Earth. He was released only when Jakeem Thunder and Thunderbolt collided with his prison in the 5th dimension. Taking over Jakeem's body, Quist sparked chaos until being extracted by Saradin, ultimately bound to a capsule of life's blood, giant jellyfish. This nameless race of highly evolved, sentient jellyfish harbored deep resentment toward the humanoid Atlanteans and constantly sought racial purity in their territories. They seized their opportunity when Atlantis was led by the inept Cletus and became vulnerable. They concealed their true forms within metal shells for an invasion and, exploiting wartime chaos, they took control, mercilessly eliminating leaders and citizens, imprisoning dignitaries, and conscripting unwilling nomadic tribes. Upon Aquaman's return, captured and placed in the aquarium, he orchestrated a rebellion with fellow prisoners. After discovering the invaders' true nature as sentient jellyfish, Aquaman devised a plan using specially designed poison canisters to eradicate them. This successful liberation of Poseidonis faced a blockade threat, prompting Aquaman's telepathic call to marine allies for a decisive assault. Taxing his powers to the limit, Aquaman led a powerful army that crushed the invaders, securing Atlantis' liberation. Although 3 jellyfish managed to escape, their ultimate fate remains unknown, leaving Atlantis free from their malevolent grasp. Toxin, serving as the high priest in a village near Atlantis, oversaw a unique symbiotic arrangement between the villagers and a tentacled monster named Krakoa, who played a crucial role in safeguarding the village by attracting and consuming predators. Despite the apparent harmony, Toxin believed that Krakoa posed a future threat, and a prophecy further fueled his apprehensions, foretelling the demise of a champion while slaying the creature to save his maiden. To fulfill the prophecy, Toxin kidnapped Aquaman and Mera, coercing them to kill Krakoa. The unintended consequence exposed the village to more menacing marine predators. In a desperate attempt to align events with the prophecy, Toxin sought to murder Aquaman. However, Aquaman's resourcefulness thwarted this plan as he incapacitated Toxin and departed, avoiding further confrontation with the escalating dangers the village then faced. Krakoa. This monster established a symbiotic bond with a small village near Atlantis, which involved the village acting as bait to attract marine predators, which Krakoa would then ensnare with his tentacles for consumption. Despite serving as a protector for the town, the high priest, Toxin, held a belief that Krakoa posed an eventual threat to their existence. Now, according to a prophecy, Krakoa's defeat would come at the hands of a champion and a maiden, with both meeting their demise soon after. So, interpreting this prophecy, took a drastic step by kidnapping Aquaman and Mera to eliminate the creature. However, the reluctant heroes refused to carry out the task willingly. But when an enraged Krakoa attacked them, Aquaman was compelled to strangle the creature to death to defend themselves. Unfortunately, this left the city vulnerable, as they had to incapacitate the hostile Toxin and depart, leaving the settlement unprotected in the aftermath. Vicebog, an inventor in Atlantis, received a task from Aquaman to create a robot copy for his political duties. Unfortunately, Vicebog was working undercover for Black Manta, and instead of fulfilling Aquaman's request, he crafted a mechanical Bugala with plans to wreck the city's protective dome. When Aquaman detected this betrayal, he defeated the monster and prevented the city's vulnerability to Manta's schemes. Of course, Vicebog was arrested, but he remained silent about his true allegiance, keeping Black Manta's involvement a secret. Awesome Threesome. The Awesome Threesome, consisting of Magneto, Claw, and Torpedo Man, were a trio of powerful robots that launched an attack during the 21st Century Fair at the Atlantean Pavilion. Aquaman, along with Aqualad, Aquagirl, Mera, and Aquababy, found themselves facing these powerful adversaries as these robots were telepathically summoned to target a science hall. In the middle of the confrontation, Magneto took action by destroying the gyro moleculizer, which had confined a convicted alien on Earth for 5,000 years. With the moleculizer dismantled, the alien regained freedom and relinquished control over the robots. Gamesman. The Gamesman had once trapped Animal Man's daughter, Maxine Baker, inside the Red. Meanwhile, Aquaman was blinded by Poseidon for witnessing the death of a god, and despite his defiance, Poseidon simply laughed and disappeared. Naturally, the Gamesman focused on Animal Man, who was frantically searching for his daughter. On the other hand, a blind Aquaman relies on his undersea instincts and meets Animal Man on his way, who shares his predicament. Even though Aquaman wanted to help, his blindness posed a challenge, but Animal Man believed Aquaman was more capable than he appeared. So now, a motivation-fueled Aquaman used his unique perception to navigate the red and locate Maxine. The heroes then confront the Gamesman, and Aquaman endured all the attacks, steadily breaking down the Gamesman's defenses, while Animal Man harnessed the strength of a whale to crack open the Gamesman's armor. This leads the Gamesman to retreat to his ship and escape. After finding Maxine, they bring her to the surface and Animal leaves her in Aquaman's care before summoning a passing seagull to pursue the Gamesman. Ogre. Ogre, or Organization for General Revenge and Enslavement, is a criminal group led by the enigmatic Supreme One. Their initial plot involved stealing and selling atomic rockets, prompting Aquaman and Mira to collaborate with the US government and thwart Ogre's operations. Plus, Typhoon and Huntress, Ogre's hired assassins, eventually betrayed the organization and joined forces with Aquaman. In a subsequent scheme, Ogre deceived millionaire Elliot Harlanson into buying an atomic bomb with plans to destroy Atlantis. So, the FBI devised a sting operation to dismantle Ogre, with Agent 03, aka Honey James, posing as Harlanson's girlfriend by orchestrating the sale of a non-functional atomic bomb. As Atlantis faced the threat of destruction, federal agents finally intervened, apprehending the remaining Ogre members and putting an end to their malicious plans. Fire Trolls. Fire trolls lived within an underground volcano and escaped into the ocean through an underwater fissure, posing a major threat to Aquaman's home. Despite a military base's futile attempts to repel these trolls, Aquaman sought a solution to halt their rampage. Believing extreme cold might be effective, he visited a mainland laboratory to find a freezing chemical. However, the chemical only slowed the trolls down, and in an attempt to dispose of them, Aquaman and Aqualad froze in return. In a stroke of luck, Quist, an extra-dimensional ally, sent an energy beam that temporarily shrank the frozen heroes, allowing Aquaman to cleverly use water to reverse the shrinking effect. Then, with Quist's guidance, he then discovered that the trolls had seized all the missiles and intended to use those explosives to dominate the planet. To thwart their plans, Aquaman and Aqualad, with Quist's assistance, devised a strategy, where the Quist distracted the trolls, leading them back to the island, and Aquaman covered them in the freeze solution. Using a repelling ray, Quist shrank the trolls, and the heroes aimed to close the underwater fissure for good, ending the menace of the fire trolls. Gustav was originally an animal trainer who turned to a life of crime by training animals for illicit activities. Fleeing from the police in a motorboat, he drew Aquaman into the pursuit. Although Aquaman couldn't capture Gustav, he and his sea allies managed to damage the boat, enabling the Coast Guard to catch up. While Aquaman diverted to another emergency and left the scene, it was presumed that Gustav perished when the boat sank in a storm. Surviving the wreck, Gustav reached a deserted island, dedicating himself to training local animals for revenge against Aquaman. After months of preparation, he successfully lured Aquaman to the island, adopting the persona of the Animal Master. However, Aquaman emerged victorious once again, finally leading to Gustav's imprisonment for his criminal endeavors. Victor Bragg. In a lighthouse, Victor Bragg and Dr. Krill observed Aquaman using fish telepathy to apprehend smugglers, so Dr. Krill proposed a unique operation to transform Bragg into the human flying fish, granting him powers based on flying fish abilities. Of course, they believed this would outmatch Aquaman, so Bragg underwent the operation, becoming an all-powerful adversary. Now empowered, the human flying fish embarked on missions to steal sunken treasures, consistently outperforming Aquaman and escaping in a helicopter provided by Dr. Krill. When Aquaman detected a pattern, he set a trap by falsely reporting a valuable cargo of uranium lost at sea. Falling for the ruse, the human flying fish attempted to steal the uranium, only to be thwarted by Aquaman's strategic use of electric eels. Aquaman then employed swordfish to bring down Dr. Krill's helicopter, and with both criminals incapacitated, they were apprehended and brought to justice. Rhombus. Rhombus assumed a human form and went on to forge a relationship with Mia Shimada, leading to the birth of a daughter, Debbie. After Debbie's birth, Rhombus revealed a sinister side, attacking Tsunami. So, Mia, with the help of the Atlantean sorcerer Atlan, defeated Rhombus. Atlan removed the gem from its host, banishing Rhombus to space and granting Tsunami new powers and a renewed youth, which allowed her to sense Rhombus's presence and defeat him. Years later, Atlan resurfaced, claiming to be Debbie's father, making her Aquaman's half-sister. While Tsunami didn't explicitly state that Rhombus was Debbie's father, she made it clear that Perkins wasn't. Piscator was a rebellious Atlantean who aligned himself with the terrorist organization named Onslaught. Aquaman confronted Piscator and his group during an attempt to safeguard President Marlowe of Kurak. Subsequently, Piscator became part of Ocean Master's team of underwater criminals, participating in an attack on Sub Diego. Bugala. Bugala is a menacing sea serpent who posed a constant threat to the small undersea colony of Eldfur. In their desperate search for a champion, The Eldfur warriors, led by their king, abducted Aqualad to confront the creature. With Aquaman's assistance, they successfully expelled Bugala. However, the sea serpent would persistently return, prompting Aquaman and Aqualad to face the ongoing challenges it presented. Captain Demo. Captain Demo is an advanced underwater pirate who commands a crew equipped with lethal experimental weaponry aboard a fully functional 16th century pirate ship that navigates seamlessly beneath the ocean's surface. Dressed in fitting attire, Captain Demo sets his sights on conquering Atlantis. In a bid to assert control, Captain Demo threatened to detonate the entire rigged city unless Aquaman complied with his demands. Naturally, Aquaman, forced to comply, even went as far as incapacitating his own wife Mera to protect Captain Demo. However, the tables turned when Aquaman discovered a working signal jammer for the detonator. Seizing this opportunity, he turned against Captain Demo, engaging in a fierce fistfight. Although Captain Demo was swiftly knocked out, his crew faced defeat at the hands of Topo the Octopus. Despite the setback, Captain Demo's crew managed to rescue him and they escaped, ready to live to fight another day. Dagon. Dagon is a one-time adversary of Aquaman who asserted mastery over the waters, boasting powers akin to Mera's. His costume was enchanted by the magic of the Demons 3. These mystical entities sought to break free using the magical energy stored within the costumes of both heroes and villains. Laron. Laron was a revolutionary living in the realm of Dimension Aqua, who once led a rebellion against the reigning queen, Mera. Following their defeat, Mera sought refuge on Earth and formed an alliance with Aquaman. After being defeated by them, Laron, determined to reclaim power, clashed with Aquaman, Aqualad, and Quist. While he successfully captured them, taking them as prisoners back to Dimension Aqua, Aquaman discovered that lead found in oil could neutralize Laron's hard water powers, so he used this knowledge to free Mera and their allies. Upon returning to Atlantis, Mera left Dimension Aqua vulnerable, allowing Laron to establish himself as the new lord. Years later, when Mera returned to Dimension Aqua in a quest for a healing device to save her son, Laron, having confiscated tools from Mera's reign, engaged her in a hard water combat. Despite Laron's potency, Mera's superior powers overwhelmed him, leading to a battle so intense that it shattered Laron's mind, rendering him vegetative. Marvelous verdict. As the protector of an expansive and largely unexplored underwater world, Aquaman's gallery is made up of both sea dwellers and surface villains with oceanic ambitions. Although most of these are aquatic villains, there's no doubt that he can take down several big guys. So, who was your favourite? Do you think we missed anyone? Leave your suggestions and thoughts in the comments.